Have you ever stopped to think about the true meaning of Christmas? No, we're not talking about expensive gifts, lavish feasts, or grand parties. We're talking about that feeling that warms the heart, even on the coldest days. Sounds cliche, right? But what if I told you that a girl, with almost nothing in her hands, managed to transform not only her own life, but that of an entire community? A story that proves the miracle of Christmas isn't in the size of the present, but in the greatness of the gesture. And between you and me, have you been enjoying Christmas for what it truly means? Maybe you're caught up in the hustle, thinking about shopping lists and endless deadlines. But hold on, this story will make you stop and reflect. It will remind you that sometimes the greatest miracles are found in the simplest things, and that gratitude can be the biggest gift you can give and receive. So, get ready. In this story, you will meet Sarah, a girl who, even with so little, had a heart big enough to hold the entire world. And on a Christmas unlike any other, she teaches us a lesson that few remember: love and gratitude can change lives. Curious? You won't want to miss this story. Sarah was only 10 years old, but her gaze carried a rare maturity for her age. She lived in a modest wooden house, worn down by time, with her mother and two younger siblings. Christmas was approaching, and despite the financial struggles, there was something special about Sarah. Her unwavering faith that good things could happen, even in the toughest circumstances. After all, Christmas wasn't just about expensive gifts, but about the miracle of believing. On quiet nights, she would sit at the kitchen table with a worn notebook and a small pencil in her hands. The stars shone outside, but her focus was on the letters she was writing. It wasn't a typical request. Sarah didn't ask for toys or clothes. Her wish was deep, carried by a simplicity that could melt any heart. She wanted something that could bring happiness to her family, something that could transform lives, a true Christmas gift. Sarah's family lived with the bare minimum, but that didn't erase the laughter and playfulness among them. Her mother, always tired, found the strength to keep the Christmas spirit alive. It was amazing how, even with so little, their home overflowed with love. However, Sarah was aware that her mother harbored bigger worries, hidden behind smiles. That's why her letter to Santa was so important. When she finished writing the letter, Sarah carefully folded the paper and placed it in an already yellowed envelope. In simple handwriting, but full of hope, she wrote, "To Santa Claus, North Pole." And so, holding the envelope close to her chest, she whispered a silent wish, as if the very miracle of Christmas could hear it. The next morning, walking barefoot down the dirt road, Sarah took her letter to a small makeshift mailbox. It was a brave gesture, because she knew that the magic she was seeking didn't depend solely on the letter's destination, but on the heart that sent it. Who could imagine that something so small could carry so much hope? Time passed, and the days leading up to Christmas brought a mix of excitement and apprehension. Sarah could barely contain her anticipation as she looked at the makeshift Christmas tree in her living room. She wondered if Santa had received her letter and, more importantly, if he would answer her request. Life went on, but deep in her heart, something told her that this Christmas would be different. And so little Sarah, with her pure heart and full of dreams, waited for the day the miracle she so desired could happen. Little did she know that something incredible was about to cross her path, something that would change not only her life, but also the way those around her viewed Christmas. A few steps away from Sarah's house lived the Johnson family. Emily, Jack, and Chloe were known by everyone in the neighborhood, not just for their house decorated with bright lights, but for the generous hearts they shared with those in need. Emily, a woman with a warm gaze and a welcoming smile, always said that Christmas was a time to spread love and create small miracles in other people's lives. Jack, the father, was a practical man with a kindness that showed in his actions. He enjoyed helping neighbors, whether fixing something or simply listening to their stories. Everyone admired him for his patience and willingness to help. Chloe, the teenage daughter, had a youthful and somewhat rebellious spirit, but inherited her parents' compassion. She often accompanied Emily on community campaigns, even if she sometimes protested a bit, like any teenager. The Johnsons had a habit of organizing events for the community during Christmas. That year, they planned a community dinner at the local church with food, music, and plenty of conversation. Emily believed that Christmas was an opportunity to bring people together and strengthen bonds, and this tradition was something she held close to her heart. To her, miracles didn't just come from grand gestures, but from simple moments shared with others. Chloe, on the other hand, had her own concerns. Like any teenager, she felt torn between hanging out with friends and meeting family expectations. However, something about that Christmas felt different. Maybe it was a hopeful look she caught in Sarah's eyes, or perhaps it was the season's own magic, which seemed to touch everyone in unexpected ways. Little did Chloe know she would be the protagonist of a transformative moment. While Jack was stringing up the exterior lights and Emily was putting the finishing touches on the community dinner preparations, Chloe watched the activity in the small neighborhood from the window. That's when she saw Sarah walking down the street with an envelope in her hands, her steps exuding a mix of shyness and determination. Something about that scene caught Chloe's attention, sparking a curiosity she couldn't quite explain. Unbeknownst to them, the Johnsons were about to become part of a story much bigger than their usual acts of generosity. The Christmas spirit they so diligently nurtured was about to reveal itself in an unexpected way. There was something in the air, something that promised to change lives, starting with their own. What they didn't realize was that this Christmas would be unlike any other. And so, the Johnson family continued their preparations, unaware that little Sarah and her letter to Santa Claus were about to cross their paths in ways no one could have predicted. On Christmas Eve, the sky was sprinkled with stars, and the quiet street seemed to hold a magical anticipation. Sarah, with her anxious heart, could barely sleep. She watched the makeshift Christmas tree in her living room, crafted from dry branches and decorated with pieces of colored paper. To her, it was the most beautiful tree in the world because it held the spirit of her hope. Little did she know that the night held something very special. In the dead of night, while the house slept, a soft sound echoed at the front door. It was such a subtle noise that it almost got lost in the stillness of the night. In the morning, Sarah was the first to wake up, as always. When she opened the door, she found a simple package wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity and excitement as she called her mother and siblings to see what it was. With trembling hands, Sarah untied the string and opened the package. Inside, there was a small pair of handmade red wool gloves and a delicately written letter. The letter read, "May these gloves warm your hands, but may the love in your heart continue to warm everyone around you." It was a simple gift, but to Sarah, it was a miracle. It was proof that the Christmas spirit was still alive, even in the smallest gestures. As she held the gloves, Sarah felt an indescribable warmth fill her chest. It wasn't just the gift itself, but the meaning it carried. It was as if someone had heard her deepest wishes and responded in such a pure and sincere way that she didn't know how to react. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the smile that lit up her expression. Sarah's small family gathered around her, all touched by the simplicity and strength of that moment. It was as if the gift had brought a new light into their home. Sarah realized that Christmas wasn't about what you received, but about what you felt and shared. In that instant, she decided she needed to do something about it. The mysterious package seemed to carry not just gloves, but a lesson. It reignited something in Sarah that had always been there, the desire to spread the same love she had received. With the gloves still in her hands, she began planning something special. Maybe, she thought, that small miracle was just the beginning of something bigger. As the sun rose, lighting up the quiet street with a soft, golden glow, Sarah looked toward the horizon with a different sparkle in her eyes. She knew there was more to be done, something that would make her Christmas and others even more special. Still holding the red gloves, Sarah felt her heart beating differently. The feeling of receiving something so special and unexpected made her think about how she could give back. After all, The Christmas miracle that touched her life could also warm someone else's. Inspired by this idea, she decided she wouldn't let that feeling stop there. Something needed to be done. With the determination only children possess, Sarah began rummaging through her house in search of things that, even small, could convey the same love she felt when opening the package. She searched drawers, boxes, and even the kitchen cabinet. She found bits of ribbon, some scraps of colorful fabric, and a small bracelet her grandmother had given her years ago. To her, that little collection was priceless. As she worked on her gift, Sarah felt a joy that warmed not just her hands, but her entire soul. She sewed carefully, giving a special touch to every detail. Her siblings watched, intrigued, and asked what she was doing. "I'm making something magical," she replied with a smile. And indeed, it was magical. A simple gesture that carried the very essence of Christmas. The gift Sarah was preparing wasn't just an object, it was a symbol. Every piece she put together seemed to tell a story, a part of her life, a message she wanted to convey. In the end, when she held the small package she had created, she felt ready. It was perfect just the way it was because it had been made with her heart. Sarah decided that the gift would be for Chloe, the Johnson family's daughter. She remembered how Chloe seemed distant, as if something about Christmas didn't touch her as deeply as it should. Maybe, Sarah thought, that small gesture could help Chloe see the magic of Christmas in a different way. After all, miracles were made of moments like that. That afternoon, Sarah walked to the Johnsons' house with the package held tightly to her chest. Her steps were light, but her courage was immense. When Chloe opened the door, she was met with Sarah's radiant smile. Without saying much, Sarah handed over the gift and said, "This is for you. It's something I made with everything I have and with all my heart." Caught off guard, Chloe didn't quite know what to say. As Chloe unwrapped the gift, something in her expression changed. The simplicity of the gesture seemed to carry a weight that words couldn't describe. It was more than a present. It was a message. And in that moment, something began to transform inside Chloe, though she didn't yet know exactly what. Chloe held Sarah's gift with a mix of surprise and admiration. The simplicity of that gesture seemed to carry an emotional weight she hadn't expected. As she examined the details, she noticed the effort and love Sarah had put into every little piece. It was as if that gift was telling a story of gratitude, hope, and, above all, life. When she went back inside, Chloe couldn't contain her curiosity. She showed the present to her parents, Emily and Jack, who were equally moved. Emily, with tears in her eyes, remarked on how that gesture reflected the true spirit of Christmas. Jack, on the other hand, remained silent for a few moments, simply observing the impact something so small had on his daughter. Sarah's gift, in some way, felt bigger than its appearance. For Chloe, that moment was a turning point. She began to reflect on her own actions, on how she had drifted away from the deeper meaning of Christmas. Despite participating in community activities with her parents, she often did so out of obligation. But now, something was different. Sarah's gesture made her realize that Christmas wasn't just about big events or expensive gifts, but about the impact that small acts of love could have. That night, as Chloe looked at the twinkling lights on her family's Christmas tree, she felt a connection she hadn't felt in years. It was as if, suddenly, the magic of Christmas had returned. And it was all because of a girl who, with so little, managed to touch her heart in a way no one else had. Chloe began to think about how she could give back. Inspired by Sarah's attitude, the Johnson family decided they needed to do something different that Christmas. Emily suggested including Sarah's story in the community dinner they were organizing. "People need to hear this," she said. "They need to know that miracles happen in the smallest gestures." Jack agreed, and Chloe, though shy, felt this was her chance to share something that had changed her perspective. As the days passed, Chloe noticed her relationship with Sarah was changing. Before, she saw Sarah as just a girl next door. Now, she saw someone full of strength and generosity, someone who, despite her struggles, possessed something many people lose over time: the ability to believe in miracles and to share love. The impact of Sarah's gift went far beyond what Chloe could have imagined. It wasn't just about Chloe or the Johnsons, but about how such a simple act could trigger a series of changes. And as Christmas approached, a new connection began to form, one that united not only the two families, but the entire community around the same feeling. Christmas morning dawned with a special glow. The local church, simple and cozy, was decorated with wreaths made by the community, twinkling lights, and the scent of pine in the air. People of all ages arrived, carrying dishes of food, smiles, and stories to share. Among them were Sarah and her family, their hearts warmed by what had happened in the past few days. For the first time, Chloe felt excited about the community dinner. There was something different that year, and she knew exactly why. When her family gathered with the others to begin the celebration, Emily took the floor. Her voice, firm and affectionate, resonated through the hall. This year, we've seen the true spirit of Christmas in a way we'll never forget, she began, as all eyes turned to Sarah. Sarah, surprised, tried to hide the blush rising on her cheeks. But Emily continued, recounting the story of the gift Sarah had given Chloe and how it had deeply touched their family. She showed us that miracles happen when we share love, even in the smallest gestures. And today, we want to celebrate not just Christmas, but the lesson this little big girl has taught us. As the story was told, the church fell silent. People listened attentively, some with tears in their eyes, others smiling emotionally. It was as if everyone was connected by that narrative, as if Sarah's gratitude was a reflection of what they themselves felt but couldn't always express. And in that moment, a different energy filled the room. When Emily finished, a round of applause echoed through the hall. Sarah, still shy, was encouraged by her mother to stand up and say a few words. Nervous but with a heart full of courage, she walked to the center and, with her soft voice, began to speak. I just wanted to thank you for the gift I received and what it meant to me. I realize that Christmas is about this, about giving, no matter how much or what, but with love. Sarah's words touched everyone in a way she never imagined. The impact wasn't just in her message, but in the authenticity she exuded. People began to share their own stories of generosity, moments of hardship, and overcoming challenges. That night wasn't just a dinner anymore. It had transformed into a gathering of souls, where each person felt part of something bigger. As the night came to an end, everyone left with lighter hearts, as if they had received an invisible gift. Sarah, alongside her family, watched as people hugged and exchanged wishes for a Merry Christmas. She felt that day had somehow changed not only her life, but everyone around her. The days following Christmas were marked by a different atmosphere in the small community. The streets, once so quiet, now echoed with laughter and conversations inspired by what had happened on the night of the dinner. Sarah's story had spread, touching hearts in ways she could never have imagined. To her, it all still seemed like a dream, a simple but transformative miracle. At the Johnsons' house, the change was visible. Chloe, once somewhat distant, now actively participated in the family's activities. She had found a new purpose, something that made her eyes sparkle. Inspired by Sarah's gesture, she began organizing small acts of kindness around the neighborhood, delivering Christmas cards and helping with simple tasks. The gift she had received wasn't just an object. It was a reminder that generosity had the power to transform lives. Emily and Jack, for their part, felt rejuvenated in their mission to spread the Christmas spirit. Emily began planning new ways to engage the community, while Jack dedicated his time to helping neighbors with small repairs and offering advice. They knew that this Christmas had left a mark that would endure, a legacy that had started with such a simple yet meaningful gesture. Sarah, though young, felt a new responsibility in her heart. The gift she had received and the reaction to what she had given Chloe made her realize that she had the power to inspire those around her. And, even without intending to, she became a sort of symbol in the neighborhood. a living reminder that Christmas is, above all, about love, gratitude, and everyday miracles. Sarah and Chloe's story soon became a topic of conversation throughout the town. People who had never met began to form bonds, united by the simplicity of that message. Like a spark igniting a fire, Sarah's gesture started to inspire others to do the same. Small miracles began to happen everywhere, creating a cycle of kindness that seemed endless. For Sarah, the greatest gift of all was seeing the changes around her. Her mother, always worried, now smiled more often. Her brothers, once too young to understand, began to imitate her by creating simple gifts for their friends. And as she walked through the neighborhood streets, Sarah felt that something bigger had begun, a movement that didn't belong just to that Christmas, but to everyone who would come after. And so, the little story of a simple gift continued to resonate, proving that when we share our purest selves, we can transform not just a single night, but an entire lifetime. Because, in the end, the true miracle of Christmas lies in the connections we create and the love we spread along the way. Now, what are you going to do with the story you've just heard? Will you let it be just another Christmas tale, or will you turn its lessons into action? Think about it. If a girl like Sarah, with so little, was able to make such a big impact, imagine what you can do. Isn't it time to look around and find small ways to make a difference? Christmas is more than lights and presents. It's about how we use what we have to touch the lives of those around us. So, I ask you, what will your gift be this year? Will it be a gesture of kindness, a word of support, or perhaps something even bigger? Don't wait for a miracle. Be the miracle in someone's life. And you know what the next step is? Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to keep following stories that inspire, move, and transform. Let's create a Christmas filled with gratitude and love together, where each of us can be the spark that lights up a heart. So, are you ready to be part of this journey?